guys, welcome to Rock Hard Riffs. This is the guitar channel for the self-taught. In today's video we're going to talk about musical interpretation. Musical interpretation, what does it mean? Now we're not going to talk necessarily about Webster's definition of interpretation, but we're going to talk about my interpretation of interpretation. Oh my, it's getting deep. Meaning that this is how I understand it. Now generally to interpret a song means that the main body, I guess, of the song, or that it's still somewhat recognizable. And I think a really good example of that would be Eric Clapton's version of I Shot the Sheriff, which was written by Bob Marley. Now it's kind of reggae and it kind of isn't Eric Clapton's version. Now of course Bob Marley's is just straight up reggae. So again, you could call that like Eric Clapton's interpretation. Now say Jimmy Page could have said during all these lawsuits that Led Zeppelin went through that what he did was his interpretation of what the prior songwriters did and stuff, but it was just so kind of obvious when you listen to songs side by side. It's like you can't just take something and reinterpret it or interpret it, however you want to put it, and call it a different song with a different name written by you. No, that's thievery. That's called plagiarism, right? But interpretation means to take the song and change a little bit, however that you see fit, but it still keeps the main recognizable body, so to speak, to a song. Now let's take this old song that I had made this long time ago. I now call it Rock Hard Blues, but it basically takes kind of like that old blues kind of chugga thing. I take it and I rock it out. So that comes from just rocked out. So you can call that my interpretation of that rhythm. That definitely changes it enough to where it is definitely, if there's a song that has this rhythm, but you know there are 100 million songs that have that type of rhythm. I'm not so sure how many have this. So, you know, I call that my interpretation of it. But you know, the funny thing is that this song I'm about to mess around with was the song that gave me the very idea for this video. I was just kind of goofing with it and I thought, let's give it more of a folky, country, kind of backbeaty thing. A little more than it is, and you could call it an interpretation. So you get it? So would you call that an interpretation? I would. Yeah, because you definitely still recognize the song, but it definitely has a different swingy, backbeaty feely to it. So I would call that an interpretation. I think it's important that we differentiate between interpretation, of course, or plagiarism, right, or just outright thievery. But I think messing around with that, I think that's good for us as musicians as far as that goes, because it puts your own little slant on things. Now, an interpretation doesn't necessarily mean my personal interpretation, how I would play it. How about like a soul interpretation, or a folk interpretation, or a rock interpretation? Kind of like I did with kind of like that. But of course that's different enough to completely change the song. But nevertheless, give us your opinions. Let us know in the comments. What do you think? Have you interpreted different songs different ways, or maybe been inspired to write a song that you would call like an interpretation of another piece? Let us know, guys, in the comments. We'd really appreciate that. So hopefully this kind of clarifies what interpretation is. At least this is my interpretation over interpretation. Alright guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next video.